Hello, everybody. Welcome to our AMA. We have a couple more people that are gonna pop up here. Actually, I think both of them just did. All right. Well, we're gonna give it just a second, give people some time to hop in. I know we've switched times, and this week actually switched days also. So give people a minute to remember that we're here, and then we'll get started with everything. We can go ahead and get things kicked off here. And as is tradition, first thing we're going to do is go over to Frisky Fox for some opening comments.
All right. Thanks. Thank you so much, Paul. Uh, so it feels like what's it been like? Feels like a whirlwind since our last AMA. We launched Duels, and I was very much involved with the coding side of that, which was really fun for me because I'm actually a coder at heart, and I love to code. And Duels has been a lot of fun to work on. It's the first time I've seen something like this done on a blockchain, having a competitive, fully on-chain matchmaking system, um, and then just all of the elements at play there. I think it was really a good first foray into this new play style that we're starting to look at. Obviously, we have like PvP and things on our roadmap, and this is a sort of having our toes get a little bit wet on that in terms of like the matchmaking and how that can work on chain. We've stated in the past that we want to try to stay as on chain as possible. Obviously, that's not always possible entirely, but having it be supported or tied to the blockchain in some way is also a good way. With this particular mini game, we actually were able to stay basically 100% on chain, and I thought it was really cool. I think we've got last I saw there was over 30,000 duels. It's probably higher than that now, and a lot of people are playing it. A lot of people love it. It's burning a lot of gold, a lot of jewels. It's generating a lot of raffle tickets, and the raffle tickets, everyone's kind of holding onto those. Like, what are these going to be for? We've showed some screenshots of some of those, how it's going to be. We've also spent some time and talked about it a little bit. Um, Raffles have been my life for the past couple of weeks as I've been building it too, and I'm excited about it. I'm super excited because we've got some really good prizes. We have it set up so that the raffles are going to be 100% on chain as well, and they'll be kind of like self-sustaining. They'll be able to be closed and have like the winners get drawn and things by the actual players themselves, and it'll be protected by the randomness of our on-chain randomness that we have everywhere else in the game. And we're going to try to have more of those running at any given time than we had previously planned. So there'll be more variety, more options for you to spend your raffle tickets. There's also a like limit on how many tickets you can put into any given like raffle based on the amount of time left in the raffle. So you can't just like wait till the very end and snipe a raffle or something like that. Um, there's also a ongoing gold raffle that will always be open. There'll be periods. I think every day we're gonna close that period, and all of the gold that came in during that period to duels. Uh, that was from the losing players, because like the winning players get their gold back, but all of the gold from the losing players will go into that. Actually, not all of it. Sorry, 80% will go into that. 20% will just get burned, but they'll be going into that pot, and you'll be able to use your raffle tickets there for a guaranteed return on gold. If you don't want to do any of the other raffles, that's always a fallback option there if you could just make sure you get some gold. So there's a lot of cool things there. Beetle dude's been working on the UI. I've been working on the back end with the smart contracts, and we're getting close. Winston's doing some testing there. Um, there are a few things that he's found that we need to work out before we launch. We're currently looking at a Friday launch for that. So that will be hopefully coming then. If there aren't any other like major bugs found, there is a few things we're going to change up on the configuration too after speaking with Hubert. It's really close now. We are testing that right now, and the environment for testing, Harmony's had some issues recently with testnet, so we've been doing some of that testing on mainnet. We will be making sure to burn any of those things we get from testing. So in case anyone's watching the blockchain, some of our testers are trying this out, and the assets from that will be burned. Just FYI, in case anyone wonders. Some of them will be put back into the gold pot. Like for example, some of the gold that's being pulled out will be stuck back into the gold pot afterwards as well. But that's where that's at. I'm excited about raffles. We've got some other things that are less happy to talk about. One of them that just really hit me was Working. Heard the news from Bolon about him, about his unfortunate accident. Bolon, is there things you'd like to share about that or update that? And then I was thinking we could have a moment of silence as well for him.
Yeah. Obviously, also hit hard home or hit home hard. Just wanted to say, really appreciate the community's support and response in it. Really appreciate the response to the GoFundMe that his family started as well. Uh, it's it's hard to lose somebody, and we are, we can all only do what we can do, but trying to show support for his family in this time. And myself and a couple others are planning on attending his service and representing our project and our community and making sure that his family knows that we're there and he'll never be forgotten with us either. But I do think a moment of silence would be very nice for him, so we can do that now.
All right. So I'll spend a minute and think about some of our memories that we have with Working, whether online or in person. Okay. Um, yeah, he was a great guy. I was really lucky to have met him in Barcelona, and I've always liked him since the very start. When he started, I think it was within weeks of us launching, or even maybe even before launch, he was here at the project and just one of the best. So I think we were talking about ways we can remember him in our game, uh, whether that's NPC somewhere or trying to work it into the lore somehow. There's ideas there that we've had, and I'm excited to see what we're able to do there. Um, Back to state of the project, and also duels. I saw some notes in the chat about some heroes still being stuck for rank 3. We have had some reports of that, and I've been having it on my list of things to look into. I was just trying to get the raffles smart contracts finished up so I could hand it off to testers, but now I'm going to be having a look at that today. So for those that are stuck, hang in there. I'm going to be working on that. I'll see if I can get those unstuck sometime within the next 24 hours with luck. There's also other things we'll be changing up a little bit with how duels work. Just small little tweaks and things. As we're in the pre-season currently, this is the time where we look at how is matchmaking going? Is it doing what we want it to do? How is all of that kind of working? And so that's when we'll be making these adjustments prior to doing the season 1. So just be aware of that. Anytime that we do make changes, we'll announce those changes. But we'll be having another look at that too to see where we're at. Speaking of raffles, raffles are also a good way for us to do other things in the future. This is our first mini game that is using raffles, but we're creating the raffle system with the raffle master contract to be set up such that it can be used by other mini games and potentially even have integrations with other programs out there, for example, the build program in some ways, so that we could allow other integrations and things to be able to also tap into that at a rate where it would be we're still trying to figure out all of the details there, but that could be something that we allow other mini games that are built on our chain to also tap into that and charge jewels or charge gold to generate those raffle tickets at a lower sort of wholesale type price. Those are things we're looking into as well as a potential thing for it. So there will be future mini games other than duels that will use it. There might be other integrations that will allow to do that as well that are actually integrating into our metaverse, and that kind of leads into a discussion about the build program and about some of the community voice things that I know that Sunbear and Bolon, especially Bolon, have been working on, and I think Sachet as well. So do you want to spend a minute and talk about that over there, Bolon? And then we'll go to Sunbear a little bit too.
Yeah, that would be perfect. Real quick, also just to note for everybody what we're going to do today, because we're going to somewhat transition our AMAs to be a little bit different, which I'm going to talk about in a moment. But what we're going to do today is we're actually going to pull questions from the AMA questions channel. So if y'all have anything you want to ask, throw it in the AMA questions channel. I'm going to be reading through that here shortly and pulling some questions in real time for us to, excuse me, to go over. On that note, so yes, we have ended up not using user voice, but using RapidR, which is another comparable service, but it offered a little bit more of what we were looking for. And so we've got our RapidR site set up. We're going to be sharing the link for that after this AMA. I'll post it in the announcements so that it's easy to find and everybody has access to it. But we got that built out. Me and Sasha was helping me as well with it. And so essentially the way that the site runs is we have different boards, and you can go on that board, you can submit your question, or you can submit your idea, thought, whatever, into the different boards depending on where it goes. So for example, we have a board for AMA questions. You can post your question there, and then other people can go, they can comment on your question, they can upvote your question. So that way in our future AMAs we can pull questions from there and make sure that we're taking questions that are being asked by portions of the community by using that upvote system to tell, like, hey, a lot of people want to see or want to hear an answer to this. So that's a question that we're going to make sure that we take for the next AMA. So, like I said, I'll be sending that link out in an announcement after this AMA, and I'm really excited for it. Sorry, really excited for it. It gives us a really good way to not only hear from y'all, but for the community as a whole to weigh in on each other's thoughts and each other's suggestions and things that other people want to see, which helps us kind of gauge, I guess, the popularity of an idea, for lack of a better phrase. But it's definitely something that I'm really excited for. It's going to be a great touch point for us staying on top of what y'all want to see and want to hear and want to know. So very much looking forward to that. Uh,
I think that's so awesome. And I was looking into options for stuff we could do. Rapid R seems like a great one that we're going to try. And I think it's going to be great. I think especially during these bear markets, a lot of projects reduce communication with their communities. It's not always a fun place to be. Uh, a lot of people are in the red, but that's what sets apart the projects that will survive and the projects that won't. You need to increase communication during times like this, and this is our, like one of our steps in that direction is to make sure that we and the community are on the same page and that we know at any given time what you guys are most concerned about. Because at the end of the day, we at Kingdom Studios are here to serve the project and to build for the project. And it's really is like a partnership, us and the community. And there's the build program as well. There's a lot of people in the community that want to build, and we're trying to support that as well. Obviously, Harmony has announced that they aren't doing any grants. That impacts us in a big way. But we want to do anything and everything that we can to continue to support the build program. We've been doing that out of our matched funds up until now. The charities and the outreach and education and grants, when they've happened, I think there's been a couple. Those have been out of our matched funds, and we've kind of been like waiting to receive things from Harmony until we got things worked out with our lawyers, with the entity. Once we did get those things worked out, every time we reached out to get those started as well, it was kind of like red taped, I guess you could say. And we just learned last week with a lot of other people that we won't actually be getting any of that, which is unfortunate. But we'll still be okay. It is hard, but we want to make sure that we can do whatever we can to support the build program. That does mean there's going to be less funds available for that. So we'll have to be a little bit more judicial with those, making sure that we're getting good ROI, good bang for our buck. But I firmly, truly believe that the build program is just so crucial. Like we have really good people here in the community. Really smart, really talented people that are excited about the game, that want to build things around it, and we want to support you guys. And so there's other things we can do too, besides just those grants, that we're going to be stepping up as well, like integration into our map. Potentially, there could be zones, there could be NPCs for certain projects. That I'm really excited about because it's a step towards the metaverse idea that I've had for a while. It's also instant access for these new apps or other projects that are integrating with us to have instant access to our like user base, which I think last time I saw some metrics from like MetaMask, DFK makes up like high 90s percentage of projects on Harmony as far as user base goes. Like we have almost all of the users on Harmony are in our game some way or another, whether it's just trading or doing heroes or questing. There's a huge amount of users, a huge share of the like users here on Harmony through us, and so having that exposure to those projects that are wanting to build and integrate with us is like instant player base for those games, which I think is huge. We're also looking at co-marketing. I'm probably stealing all of Sunbear's points here. Sorry, Sunbear. I'll let you talk for a bit. But yeah, I'm just excited about that, and that's kind of like where that's at.
Thanks, Fox. Yeah, I mean, you were still in some points, no problem though, because they love hearing from you, and what I love is that I get to work with this kind of vision that Fox is expressing. So yeah, so some disappointment around some of the Harmony Grant information, but as you can hear from Fox, we're not letting that stop us. We're just shifting how we can do everything we can to support our builders. And, an example of that is, of course, coming out with the DFK Builders website last week that was announced and launched to give, the tools needed to really help build. Um, we have had to prioritize a few other things, but really kind of refocusing now on how um, builders in our community, third-party builders, other games, and everything can build on our site, and also working on ways to get links within the site or our website to folks that are using our assets or that are being endorsed by us. So lots happening there that's in process. I know a lot of you are waiting for answers that are building or have grants right now, and just know that we haven't forgotten you, and we are definitely working hard to do that. We're even exploring other ways to help support builders. One idea would be like maybe paying with Locked Jewel or finding other ways to support. So just know that we're working on that. Um, yeah, and I also just wanted to say too, I'm really excited about the Rapid R piece that Bolin has been working on. And it's a way that our community is really going to be able to express and show what the feedback they have, the ideas they have, the questions they have. We're going to focus our build site more on, the building of these things and get, the ideas and the feedback from the community more into that Rapid R, which is just going to give it more traction and more people looking at it to vote it up. And so we can really see what the community wants. That's all for me.
So I'm excited about this. The other thing that we've been spending a lot of time internally talking about, and also I think the community has asked a lot about, is ideas for what we can do to integrate Locked Jewels more into our uh, ecosystem and like into our game to provide ways for them to be used ahead of the unlocking to help to like reduce some of the pressure there, but also to provide good incentives for those holders of lot jewels to actually use those in game for things that have like real value and that are desirable. And so basically, like the more lot jewels we can get people to use in the game for things, the healthier that is for the project. So we're looking into options there. We have some really good ideas. Mr. Fawn has started writing a contract that will create kind of a unified um, way for our other smart contracts to be able to potentially spend Lot Jewel for players. So if you say like you wanted to do the upgraded pet hatching thing, you might be able to use Lot Jewel for that at like a multiplier over just like regular Unlock Jewel. Those are some of the ideas we're looking at. Even like duels and being able to fight like duel fees there, having those get spent at like the multiplier. That is all very possible with the direction we're going. We're trying to make it so that most or potentially even all of the areas that spend Jewel in our game will support this interface. And it'll be sort of an ongoing thing where up until unlocking, it'll have a like multiplier that'll be higher. After unlocking, the multiplier will go down a little bit, and then throughout the unlocking period, it'll also be slowly going down as well until it's at parity. Um, and so that's one thing we're looking at that I'm excited about. There's other options we have too, some of which are uh, a lot more outside the box, I guess you could say. And we will be looking to get feedback from the community on what the community wants to see done, and probably even have some things there queued up for the governance votes using that new like Rapid R site. Speaking of governance votes, it's my hope and intention that the Rapid R site will be a good sourcing ground for ideas that will become votes. I want the community to be able to have, in a very real way, a avenue to basically propose votes through putting an idea there, having it get enough support, consensus, having the ideas get fleshed out there on the Rapid R site from communication and discussion with each other and with us. And then after something like that receives enough attention and enough support, at that point, it would be a candidate for having a Joule vote on or something like that. Joule vote on, I mean, sorry. So stuff like that will happen. We'll probably be using that for some of the ideas we have for Joules. There's ideas around being able to purchase other things in game, whether it's like lands or things like that in the future. Using those lot Joules add a multiplier again as well. So just things along those same lines. There's also ideas and talks about potentially allowing players to be able to relock or further lock or like refine some of those Joules to be able to participate in things in our game, which might create other tracks of lot Joules. You might have some lot Joules that won't start unlocking until maybe like a year in the future, or even if you want to lock some of your unlocked Joules to participate in that, you could do that. And those might be certain other tracks that would then grant players access to things in the game, or be able to get items in the game, or stuff like that. So there's ideas there that we'll probably be involving the community on, and I'm interested to see what all of your ideas are as well through that site. So feel free to go post there. We've also talked about a hero burn. In the past, we get asked a lot about this. There's now, I don't have the numbers anymore, but there's over 200,000 heroes out there, I believe. Does anyone know? I'm sure someone's going to throw it in the chat here in a second. But there's a lot of heroes out there, and it seems like a lot when you look at it. There's 269. No, there's not. Okay. Well played. Well played. 250.
They're actually not that far off. There's 243,883. But that's before Perilous Journey burn.
Great. So yeah, I mean, it seems like a lot, and it is a lot, and it's a great milestone. But when you look at other projects like Axes that have 12 million or something Axes that have been minted, we have a lot of room to grow. And we have a lot of potential there for utility for those. We want every player to be creating their team, having at least 3 heroes to be able to fully participate in a lot of the things we're doing. Actually, some of our things you need 9 heroes, as like you guys have seen, having more heroes, even in the future as we start to implement some of the other ideas for our game that we haven't really announced yet on our like roadmap, but you'll see things with guilds and with like guild war type of things there, where you'll need more heroes. So there's a lot of things there, but we also want to present options for players that just have a lot of heroes that want to get more out of them. We've talked in the past about a dark summoning sort of thing. We're pursuing that. We have been for a while, trying to figure out what that will look like, trying to like really flesh out those ideas. But that is a thing we're working on, just so you guys know. We'll be releasing a little bit more details there as well. It's a little bit dark. Heroes will be lost in the process, but it's more like just returning essences to like the inner grove, right? And then with how it works with the pets, where you're able to trade in 2 pets to get an egg. It's a similar concept. It's obviously not the exact same because of how heroes work and how they function, not being the same as pets. But basically a similar thing to that, being able to use 2 heroes to produce another hero that is stronger or has higher chances of having some of those traits that you want to see. So those are some of the things that are options out there. Not that you have to do it, but having the option there and having it be a compelling enough option that a lot of people will choose to do it is important too. And it'll be important to make sure that the value of the hero assets out there stays in balance too, because we don't want it to just be inflationary. We want it to have a good supply and demand. And obviously part of that is having utility for these heroes, but another part is just having sometimes they get added, sometimes they get removed. So that's the thing we're working on, just so you guys know. The last thing I did want to touch on a little bit before we open it up to questions, and there might be others from Poland, but the
I don't know if everybody can hear you. I cannot. Can anybody hear Fox?
I can't hear him.
yeah, sounds like you might have dropped.
We've lost Fox. Let's see. I don't know if he can hear us saying that we can't hear him. He might still be filling us all in. This is really just to build suspense.
Wait for it. Wait for it.
All right. So he did leave the stage, so we'll see when he comes back. I'm sure he'll be back. In the meantime, one thing I wanted to throw out there, just because I started looking through the AMA questions channel, somebody asked about the dev update. We did not do one last week because we were working on the pitch deck a lot, and so we just didn't want to divert the resources. However, it is intended to be back. So we also really like the dev update. I think it's a really good way to stay connected as well. So the plan is to still bring that back. We just had have a lot to get done and only so much time in the day. So that's what happened with the dev update last week. I'm just gonna start reading some questions. We'll see what we can answer while we miss Fox.
Yep, that sounds good.
So this was a general question about like lock jewel spending, which is what we were just talking about, as well as communication, which the our site covers. Beetle, do you want to give any insight on the order book system?
Yeah, I can tell you what I know. I know that the Solidity team has been working hard on getting that set up. I think Mr. Vaughn was working on a proof of concept for the actual client side interactions. I think it's still in process, but it is making progress, and we'll kind of keep y'all up to date whenever we know more when that's coming. I think we might be leaning towards. I think originally he was leaning towards maybe having it live on like a separate page, but we might be working on kind of gamifying that a little bit more to fit into our current site. So that's kind of where that's at. The contracts are in a good spot, but we're going to be working with the API team and client side team to get that going.
Awesome. And that was
Yeah.
there was a question about for buying and selling like quest rewards. So that was the question that's in regards to. Let's see.
Gotcha. Yep.
Question about potentially having a vote to delay or extend jewel unlocking, which I think we've kind of talked about jewel unlocking anyway, but I think that would probably be primarily Fox question. Although Beetle, if you want to weigh in, feel free.
Yeah, I don't know a ton if we've talked about that or not, but I think that would be on the table to think about. I know we have a tokenomics committee that's been looking at all of those options, and he's back.
Hey, welcome back.
Save me. Hey, sorry, I'm on my phone and the sound is probably horrible. I don't know what happened. Computer is just not having it right now. I think that the Wi-Fi is just being weird. A community vote about jewels and unlocking. That's stuff that we could use the community site, the like Rapidar thing to discuss. I think we'd like to hear other people's thoughts, other people's reasonings. If we ever did look at something like that, it would have to be a community vote. And the community vote, in my opinion, and I'm just one person here, but I think it should be based on allowing people to vote with their lot jewels for proposals that impact lot jewels. Because I want to see what those that hold lot jewels want to see done with it. I think that's the fairest way, personally. But it's like one of those things that we like want to hear everyone's ideas. We want to see what other people think about those ideas. We're all here as a community. We're all in the same boat. We're trying to build something that has staying power and that is compelling. And so, whatever you guys are able to come up with for those ideas, we want to hear, we want to see, we want to talk about, we want to potentially have like a vote on. So use that site for that.
Perfect. And yeah, I mean that's exactly the point of that Rapid R site. So that is excellent. Let's see. Raffle Man be when will the Raffle Man be active? We talked about that. Let's see. This is a good question from Stronghold. Do we have any other mini games currently planned other than duels, obviously?
So we've had some ideas, but they aren't nearly as far along as something like duels. I don't think we have any solid plans right now for a timeline, simply because we're trying to build the framework for it now. And then we obviously have a lot of other things on our roadmap too that we're working on that we have to prioritize there as well, including stuff like what do we do with lot jewels? How do we integrate those? What about lands and like all those types of systems? The parity of features. So we aren't planning right now to build any more in the short term, but the intention of this was to have a program in place that our builders in the community can have as a thing that they're able to do as well. So the mini games, it'll be kind of like Axes. I don't know if you guys saw Axes thing where they just recently released a slew of like mini games for Axes. Most of those, if not all of them, I believe, came from builders in the community. So that's kind of what we'd like to see with that program. Obviously, in the future, I'm sure we will be adding more mini games ourselves as well, just because there's a lot of opportunities there for things that are fun that we could do with our hero assets and/or with our pets and things like that. And you will definitely see more of them in the future. Just probably not in like the next few weeks or even couple of months, I would say.
Awesome. And actually, the next question kind of relates to it anyway. So let's circle back. When you got cut off, I believe the last words that we heard were feature parity. So if you want to get us caught up on what you were going to say, then that would be good.
Yes, feature parity. So we've been asked a lot about DFK chain, and we want to give our players a really compelling reason to come to all of our realms. And it's a experiment. Like this whole cross chain approach we've been taking is an entirely new thing that other projects aren't really doing. And so part of that is making sure that our players have things to do in all of our realms. And if they would prefer to just stay on the FK chain to do things, but they have to come to one chain or another um, in order to do all the things, that's good in some ways, but it's also bad in other ways. It's not a good user experience all the time. Obviously, we're trying to make that as seamless as possible with our in-game bridges and things like that. But we also want to bring professions quests to the FK chain. We want to bring like stuff for pets and items and crafting and all that stuff to all of our chains as well. So you'll start to see more of a push there. In fact, I think we're very close to launching professions quests on the FK chain. Um, And that will be sort of like our first step towards that. Obviously, you can already summon heroes over there on DFK Chain 2 because we launched that. So we're just slowly adding those features. We want to have it such that all of our chains have all of the basic features like that, and then you'll have certain things that you can only get from one chain or another, but the experience will be a more cohesive experience across all of our chains. So just have that in mind. That's a thing that we're progressing towards as well. And obviously, TFK chain is a really great chain. Mr. Fawn was heavily involved with that. It's built to scale. It can easily handle our transaction loads. It is using joules for gas, which is actually a pretty significant burn on joules. And there's just a lot of really compelling like reasons why we want to get more and more of our players and like more and more of our features and things there as well. You'll start to see in the future when we launch some of our newer features, it might launch on all of our chains at the same time, or there could even be some things that would launch on one chain or like on the other first, and then it'll come to the other one. So you'll see that more and more. That's all I was planning to say about that. So thanks for reminding me, Bolin.
Absolutely. Which answers the few time asked question of win quests on Crystal Vale. So that's good there. Let's see. Question from Bless on how the pitch deck is going. Uh, I'll just say it's gone really well. But if somebody else wants to add on that, they are welcome to. All right, it's gone really well. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry, I was kind of switching over to my headphones. Hopefully, you guys can hear this better.
Yes.
Maybe not. Um, yeah, I know that. Let's see, Boohoo and Spicy and Dreamer and Pie Face and a bunch of others have been very much involved with that. They've been hounding me to get my bio written up for that, so I still need to do that. But it's looking really good. I'm excited about it. I know that Dreamer has been, I guess, like referencing that too, just when he's like meeting with people. He's actually out right now at NFT in NYC, I believe, and he's meeting with a lot of really cool projects, a lot of really cool people. And he's, I think, like referencing that in those discussions as well. Just like, here's who we are, here's some of the milestones we hit, here's how far we've come, here's what we want to do in the future. It's really helpful to have that, and it's a really great tool to use for those things.
Awesome. Yeah, and I know Pi mentioned it in the chat as well, and you mentioned he's in New York, but I know he's been meeting with several people there, so that's very exciting, and we'll definitely have some updates for y'all once they're ready. Plans for next chains, I think, might be a little bit of a preemptive question at the moment, but we have talked about it a little bit in the past as well.
I could talk a
Yeah.
little bit about it too without naming names. You know, in the current environment with the markets, some chains are buttoning up their programs and their funding. We've seen that even here at home. And then other chains that are more forward-looking, in my opinion, or else are in like a better position to do so, are actually accelerating those. Like they're like, this is the time to build. This is, like this is the bear market. This is when we separate those that are going to outlast from those that won't. And they are trying to find projects to bring on that are have that exact same like ethos of like build, build, build. And that's who we are. We are here to build, especially in these markets that are down. That's when you build, build, build. So a lot of those projects and chains are specifically out there trying to look for projects like ours. And so it's a good opportunity for us as a project to continue to expand our game and to bring on more players and even more grants and more funding to us as a project ourselves, and then also allow us to also pass on some of those grants as well to some of the builders here in our community. All of that is very good for the project, and those are things that we are definitely still pursuing and trying to find who those chains are and what those partnerships could look like to best help the project. So that's a large part of what we're doing. We aren't sleeping on those opportunities, I'll say. So that's all I'll say about that for now. I know that Dreamer is very much involved with some of those talks with other chains and other places. Speaking of the grant program, actually, real quick though, like the builders program, another thing that I forgot to mention was our team actually has a lot of locked jewels in our own treasuries. And there's been discussions about, creatively using those locked jewels to award to some of the builders as well, so that those builders could receive locked jewels as a supplemental way for them to be incentivized to build on our chain as well, or on our project, or to integrate with our projects. Those are some of the ideas we've been creatively looking at in conjunction with co-marketing and all that type of stuff, integrations and like support even from our team with help with coding sometimes or help with auditing. Those are some of the things we're looking at, but one of those could be actually incentivizing with like locked jewels to those projects as well.
Awesome. And actually, this was a comment from Rooster, but it's a good clarification. With the plans that we're working on for being able to spend Lock Jewel, what's the plan for the Lock Jewel that gets spent?
That's a good question. Obviously, there'll be some kind of a multiplier. What that multiplier looks like is tricky. We don't want to arbitrarily say, here's what we think a locked jewel is worth compared to an unlocked jewel. What we want to do is we want to use math. We want to say, how many circulating locked jewels are there? How many circulating unlocked jewels are there? What's the vesting schedule? And come up with a algorithm or some kind of a formula to say, here's what we will put that at in our game to allow spending of locked jewels. Now, the question is what gets done with those locked jewels? Obviously, currently, if you're using unlocked jewels, 100% of that gets used and will be put to various places. You'll have some of it get burned generally. Some of it will go to the bank. Some of it will go to the quest fund or to the projects like funds here for our team to build. And so what would we do with the funds if it was locked? The consensus right now, and we're still trying to hammer this out, was to say, let's look at what the initial cost of it was, and let's still have those funds get distributed at the 1x rate for those same ones, and then have the rest either get burned or stay locked and get put into some kind of a special like project locked fund pool, which would then be held, or even just having it get burned. There's also been talks about having all of it stay locked, which is also on the table. So really, like those are the things that we're still trying to hash out, but we're creating the program such that it can be configurable, so that we can set that to basically what the community thinks is best, and that might be something that we have a governance vote on that we might want to go discuss on that like Rapid R site as well. But that's kind of the approach we're taking right now. We're open to feedback. I think we want to do it in a way that is responsible and sustainable to the community. I've heard from a lot of the community members that they want to see our project receive more funds, which obviously is good for the project itself, because that means we can continue to build. But from our standpoint, we also want to make sure that the actual like funds being sent are reasonable and are basically on par with other things we're doing on our game. So we aren't trying to do anything radical here with that. And we would even be willing to have 100% of those potentially stay locked if that's what the community thinks is best. So we're just basically looking at options, weighing those and considering. We want to see what people have as their feedback about that as well, and probably we'll do a vote.
Cool. Awesome. Appreciate that. Another question that was asked was if there was any update on the incentives from Avalanche, with the Harmony situation being what it is, on the Avalanche side, if anything was different.
Yeah, so Dreamer's been speaking with Luigi. I spoke with him a little bit over at Avid Labs. He's been our main contact. There's others there that we're working with on the daily at times for PFK chain that are like really involved. We're still like receiving really good support from them. Last I heard, it's all still on. We're trying to set that up with our entity and with our lawyers to be able to receive those in a good way. We still haven't received them. We part of that is we want to increase the feature parity of the FK chain because that grant is basically for us continuing to build out the FK chain, and that's why adding newer features into the FK chain and even potentially some features that launch on the FK chain first will be important because sorry, there's a airplane going in my head right now. Hold on 1 second. It'll be important because that shows to them that we are very serious about building a DFA chain and that it's a thing that we want to partner with them on and use that like additional funding for. So that's part of what we're doing there as well with the feature parity.
Awesome. I think that was the majority of questions. There were, a couple of mechanics related questions, but Hubert is not up here today, so we're gonna save those. But keep in mind as well, like as I scrolled through, there's several on here that are suggestions of sorts. So make sure that you post those on the Rapid R site as well, because that's really where those will go and be able to be seen and commented on and voted on. So make sure that y'all check out the Rapid R site as soon as I post that announcement, which I will do here in a few minutes after we wrap up. But aside from that, I was going to go around real quick and see if we had any last comments from Sunbear or Beetle Dude before we turn over to Fox to close us out.
I just want to say thanks to everybody. Thanks for your support, for believing in us in the project. We've really, we've come even closer as a team over the last several weeks, and I just really appreciate too the support and heartfelt response for working. And I was just talking to him the other day in Austin and about the project and his hope and desires and everything, and just a real sad loss there, but really heartfelt and a good warm feeling from everybody as they've supported his family. So I just want to say thank you. Please take care of each other. It's not an easy time right now, and reach out to others if you're struggling. And let's keep moving forward together.
Yeah, I think I just kind of want to second that we have an incredible team. Times are rough, but everybody's staying positive and supporting each other, and everyone's excited to continue building. We've got some good features coming up, and we're gonna keep pushing them out as much as we can. So yeah, and really appreciate the community as always. Thanks everybody.
Much appreciated. Y'all are awesome, both on stage and in audience. And we'll let Fox close out here and we'll call it a day. See y'all next week.
Thank you, Volan, and also thanks everyone in the community. I hope you guys have seen the amount of effort and love that we've put into some of the recent releases we've done. The markets have been down steadily for the last, basically all year. Honestly, they've been trending down. And it's hard. It's hard to build during this time. It's been 6 months plus of having to build through those. And our team, we've actually had some people step away from the project, which is fine. Everyone's in their own situations. It's hard to go so hard for so long and not get burnt out. Some people are struggling with that. It's also hard to build during a bear market. That's when it's hardest, but that's also when it's most critical. And that's what we're trying to do. So we've done some restructuring. We've been looking at the ideal structure to build what we want to build on a roadmap to get us to where we want to be as a project, and who those people are, and really just investing in those people as much as we can. Obviously, we've also had to like reduce spending to be able to outlast like this market, however long it lasts. It's important to be very strategic with our funds and to be looking at things that have ROI for our game and for our project and for our team. We're looking at merchandise launching soon, I believe. I'm excited about that, especially with the prospects it brings for in-game integrations in some really cool ways that we haven't seen other projects doing before. There's some really good ideas from like Pieface and Motherbrain, Boo, and some of the others that are out there. Excited about that. But our team has consolidated, has restructured, and has basically set ourselves up to be able to execute on the vision and the dream that we see for this project. We see huge upside potential. It's been almost a year. It's probably been a year since we planted these seeds and started to build this team, started to create this project. And we've come so far over the last year. It's just incredible to see the amount of progress we've made. We've got all of you, like wonderful people here in our community that are just as excited as we are about this project and about the prospects it has for the future and for creating a fully cohesive system and like economy on the blockchain with utility, with the game, with fun, with community. It's just really a amazing and ambitious thing that we're building, and we're committed to still being here and still building. A lot of people are still working very, very hard, and it's harder to work hard during this time, but our team is doing so. So I ask that everyone just have that in mind, that our team is still pulling long hours. We don't want to burn out the people that we have, and we want to pace ourselves, and that's a thing that we're going to start doing more. You've seen the past month and a half, maybe 2 months, we've had a release almost every single week, which we've said in the past we want to do every other week. It's the only way to be sustainable and stay sane. But it's hard to just do every other week because there's so many cool things that we're building that we want to get out as soon as we can. But we need to pace ourselves. So we're going to try to stick more closely to that every other week thing. I think we're still planning a out-of-band release this week on Friday for the raffles, potentially, if all goes well with testing. But just to have that out there, even things like AMAs for the weekly, I think it's great to have those. The off week ones, when it's not during any like release week, there might be less to talk about during those weeks. We might have it be shorter during those weeks or something like that. We're just looking at ways to reduce team burnout and allow people to be able to run the marathon that this is. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon, and a lot of us have been sprinting nonstop for a long time. So if you see a team member, reach out to them, make sure you let them know that you appreciate them, because I can surely say wholehearted that everyone is just working hard, and it's hard to do so, and I'm really extremely proud of our team. They've really manned up, even though half of us are actually women. Sorry, that's probably the wrong thing to say, but they've stepped up, I guess is probably a better way to say it, and everyone's working hard, and they're amazing. And then by that same token, the community that we have is amazing. You guys are amazing. I've said it time and time again, and I truly believe it, that we have the best community in the crypto space. Everyone who comes here is just amazed, like, wait a minute, we're in a bear market, aren't we? Where's all the toxicity? And sure, there will be some of that here and there in our channels. But that's I think that our community just really pulls together, helps people, is kind, has fun, is mature, and like understands how these things go with cycles. There's a lot of good things in that community. I love to be in there, and I'm going to try to spend more and more time in there as well. So if you see me pop into Discord more often, that's why. But just really excited, really happy, and really blessed to be here and be building with all of you guys as a team and as a project and as a community. And with that, I guess I'll just end with saying bullish, super bullish about the outlook for the future and for where we're at and for where we're going. So thanks everyone for coming. Bullish.
Bullish.
Thanks everyone. Bullish.